Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our second Tuesday of this year with Transformational Tuesday. How is everyone doing?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome, Dr. Harris. How are you?
Thank you. Good, thank you. So, today we've got a very distinguished speaker, Laurie Shook. Laurie,
Hello. I'm not sure if you're wanting
Hi.
something else from me at the moment. Hi there. Hi, everyone. How are you? Happy New Year, if we're still saying Happy New Year.
We can say that till the end of Jan.
Okay, I follow that rule too. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. How are you all?
all pretty well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So Laurie is, to introduce everyone a little about Laurie. Laurie is a professional coach since 1997 and a master certified coach since 2001. Laurie has coached small business owners, managers, and executives around the world. He has worked with leaders in a variety of organizations in large multinational and mid-sized businesses, as well as doing some pro bono work in prisons and schools. Laurie is now making the latest research from neuroscience and adult learning theory available to coaching and training practitioners. He has served on the faculty at the Coaches Training Institute, CRR Global, and Performance Consultant International, and she has developed curriculum for a number of coach training programs, including her own master level coaches going corporate and ICF accredited online blended learning program. Consistent with Laurie's background in science and engineering, her approach to coaching is practical and pragmatic. She insists that instead of simple problem solving, coaching is many times more productive when the focus is on enriching the client's internal world so that they can reach their stated goals with more clarity on purpose and less self interference. Recent findings from neuroscience make this approach straightforward and accessible for clients. As a speaker and trainer, Laurie brings humor and interactivity to the stage. Her presentations are not just download, but uplifting experiences where you get to have fun, where you learn something new. In recent years, Laurie has focused on developing a set of neuroscience-based virtual programs that include helping colleagues work better together, teaching managers to coach and supporting leaders to use best of their brain and lead with both rigor and heart. Laurie has authored and co-authored many publications following, some of them are Coaches Going Corporate, Traffic Light Tool, Rewired to Relate, um, and Team Up, applying lessons from neurosciences to improve collaboration, innovation, and result, and many more. She is also a TEDx speaker, and she has also spoken on WebEx and WebEx, many sessions there, and she runs her own YouTube channel as well. So what a rich background, Laurie, you bring for us to learn from you.
Thanks. It sounds a little overwhelming when you read it.
Thank
But
you.
thanks for that.
Thank you, Laurie. And would you like to round off your introduction and take over?
Sure. I now need to make sure that we have a fun and interactive experience that's not a download. So I think I can promise that. And I've got three people here. I am going to be doing some experiences with you. And I just want to point out three people who are here, particularly that I will be calling on, who have volunteered to be experiences as if we're having a small workshop and you all can observe them in case you don't want me to call on you. But I do, as we go through experiences, I want you to be experiencing along with the rest of us. So we've got Franda and Mahmoud and Ritu. Thanks, you three, for being here, and we'll be hearing from them. And of course, we can hear from others of you if you wish. I'll also be asking you to contribute in the chat box your experiences and things you're feeling. So please do use the chat box. You might just open that up, and I will do the same so I can see your responses. And I have a slideshow, so I'm going to be starting that. Here we go. So this, and if you want to, by the way, on Zoom, I don't know how familiar everyone is with Zoom, but you can set your Zoom up so you can still see all the people, because you'll want to see at least Ritu, Franda, and Mahmood as we do some experiences, and you can see each other. If anybody has any questions about that, I don't know, Haris or Soham, if you can help people with that. I'll not spend the time on it though. So today's talk, brain training for working well with others. So this is all about understanding our brain and how it works and how we can use it so we can work better together. Because the brain, what it does is it creates different reactions in us, and I'll be exploring that and we'll be experiencing it. And with those different reactions, it can create blocks between us and others. So when we are competitive with others and we are argumentative and all those things, that's coming from this emotional brain, because it has certain needs and desires and things that it thinks is good for us. So we'll be exploring how those get created so that we can manage it and work well together and tap into other parts of our brain that creates positivity and connectedness. We naturally desire connection and collaboration with others. So we just need to learn how to tap into that part of our brain. What to expect through this hour webinar: some information, a little bit of information, and some experiences. I don't know. Yeah, there's some noise that's now stopped. We'll be experiencing the emotional brain. So you have 2 or 3 different experiences of different parts of your brain. And one big part is emotional and another part is rational. And you'll see how those create different actions and can lead you to create different actions for yourself, different behaviors. You'll learn how to manage that emotional brain so that you can be free of or move beyond those emotional drivers. I already started to talk about this a little bit, but I want to say a little more about the emotional brain. Let's focus on that first. So the emotional brain is a small part, it's probably fist-sized part of your brain that's in the middle of your head. When you think of the brain, you probably think of the crinkly gray matter, the cortex. That's what we usually think of as gray matter. That's the part that's towards the outer part of your brain. Underneath that are all these little bits that work together. That includes the amygdala. A lot of you have probably heard of the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain. It creates different chemicals that have you feel different things. This whole brain system, its job is to keep you safe. It evolved to keep you safe, to keep you out of danger, and to keep you moving towards things that keep you alive. Now, this part of the brain isn't so concerned about your physical safety. There's a deeper part of the brain that's doing that job. So if you were being chased by a tiger, this deeper part of the brain kicks in and has you run to get out of the way, or at least climb a tree or something. If it's tiger, though, that probably wouldn't be so helpful. But anyway, you know what I mean. And it tends to be fear-based, this emotional brain, because that actually keeps us safer. It's more important to stay out of danger than it is to eat. So eating is good, and doing, shelter and all those things are really good for us. But as soon as we are in danger of something, the fear takes over. So I'm now talking about both this physical part of the brain, that if you were being chased by a tiger or lion or something, a fear-based brain is good for you. But this emotional brain, the limbic system, the human limbic system, is built around that, and it's not so concerned about your physical safety, but it's concerned about your relational safety. Yes, being chased by a bear or lion or tiger is not good for you, but you also have to belong to a tribe, for example, because that keeps you from being chased by a lion, tiger, or bear. So this emotional brain that we have in our human heads is keeping us safe by keeping us belonging to the tribe and doing a few other things, which I'll show you. So it's all about safety, all about keeping you alive, and it's all about social, all about being in relationship to others. And we will be experiencing that. So I'm not going to say much more about that other than these reactions that we have. It causes us to either pull towards one another, like come together and collaborate, or it pushes us away. feel free to add questions to the chat box if I'm not being confused. If I'm being confusing, I know I went to the brainstem a little bit. I might have confused that with the limbic system. The point is, you just need to know that we've got this emotional brain and it's there for a purpose. It's just that its purpose was designed for millennia ago when we lived on the savannah, and it doesn't work very well for the 21st century. So let's do some experiencing. So everyone, I'd like you to experience, think back to a time when you felt engaged working with others. You can also expand beyond that, engaged with working with others. You were just really having a great time at a party or something. Just find a time when you were really engaged, alive, and feeling good and wanting to do more of what it was you were doing. And I'm going to be asking Ritu, Franda, and Mahmoud to share with us verbally, but also happy for you guys to share your experiences in the chat box. So, Ritu, Franda, Mahmoud. I lost Mahmoud's picture. Where'd you go? Tell us, what was an experience you had? If you were, there you are.
Yeah, I remember definitely. It's a vacation, and it's like it was friends and family, and it was like complete an atmosphere where you were just lit up. You know, you're inside is like, so you feel so light, you feel so engaged, no stress. It was like a different feeling altogether. You know.
Now I want everyone, so Ritu, just pause there for a second. Just notice Ritu, the way her face lights up and shines and her smile, and she even talked about lit up. This is what the reward network of the brain brings, this positive part of the emotional brain. It creates dopamine, and that's what it looks like. Anything else, Ritu, you want to say about that experience? And thanks others for putting in the chat box.
Well, I think that was it. Majorly, I was like just trying to share that, you know, how well I was feeling inside. It was like a very different experience altogether, like different from the day-to-day life which we live.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Randa, Mahmoud, will you share?
Thank you, Lori, for your for this presentation. For the activity, I have felt actually enthusiasm, high energy. I feel passionate about what I'm doing. I can say like high energy. I can feel also that I need to go extra mile without being asked to do that.
Great. So high energy and enthusiasm and like high. I just keep hearing words that sound like they're high kind of words. Yeah, great. Brenda, how about you?
So when I think of a time when I'm thinking about being most engaged, I think about just sitting in the room and hearing my sons laugh. Anytime and they're adults, but even as adults, when I hear them laugh and laugh together, it truly just sends a warmth. Just, I can't even describe the feeling. It's just a full body reaction, just hearing them laugh.
Nice, nice.
And so, yeah, so that's the probably the most times when I feel most engaged in anything is listening to them laugh.
Great, thanks. So full body experience, it truly is a full body experience. And when we have these, because the brain has said, wow, this is a good thing, do more of it. And it sends out some dopamine. In some cases, there's oxytocin, friend of what you described was like an oxytocin and Ritu, maybe all of you. But positive chemicals that flood the body and have us feel up and passionate and excited and good. And it's a message the brain is sending, do more of that. It feels so good. And I see on the chat box, there's hiking, sharing knowledge with others, group members doing a project together, picnic in nature with friends, all these things. And by the way, these memories live in you and they create positivity in you. So if you ever want a little pick-me-up, a little dose of positivity, all you need to do is tap back into one of these memories. It'll flood your body again. Your brain doesn't really know the difference between very little difference between a memory of something, because it stores emotions and all those access to all those chemicals. It stores them so you can recall them and experience them again. That's good with positive memories, not so good, with those negative ones that we chew on all and torture ourselves over. That's when that's not such a nice function of the brain. Okay, so this is your brain's reward network. It's saying, this is good, do more of this, we like it, it's good for your survival, listening to your son's laugh, doing all these different things. It's good. It creates connection, and that keeps you alive. Good job, human being. Keep doing more of that. Yeah? All right, so now we're going to go shift into this other fear side of this emotional brain, if you're ready. You might just take a breath and set your loving memory aside. You can always come back to it. But for the sake of experience, I'm going to ask you to just set that aside and be ready to experience something of your choice that's a little less pleasant for the sake of the experience. So think of a time when you were disengaged, angry, or you wanted to fight back, or things were difficult. Please do not pick the biggest trauma in your life. We don't want to lose you to that trauma right now. You can find a small one and it'll have the same physiological reaction, so you can still feel it. So think of something where you were upset in some way, disengaged, whatever, upset. You didn't like what was going on. And notice what happens. What's the full body experience here? Even thinking about doing this, my palms just sweat a little. I notice I get a little queasy in my stomach, or you might get something in your throat or your chest that feels difficult or hard. Just notice, think of the thing that you're thinking of, and just notice how you feel physically. Pranda, Fritu, Mahmood, Ritu, Mahmood, what, you have any?
Yeah, thank you, Lori. Actually, I feel completely disengaged, or let's say disconnected.
Mm.
Don't want to participate, want to leave the group, low energy,
Mm.
very low enthusiasm, doesn't want to proceed anymore. I want to leave this group, and I don't want to continue to be with them anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to be here. I want to leave. Classic response. Thank you for that. Pranda, Ritu, one of you?
Yeah, for me, it's more of that it's again a full body reaction almost, but then the feeling is not very nice in the body.
Mm.
And you just feel that, okay, just try to get rid of it somehow and then just move on. You don't want to kind of hear, you don't want to see those people or whatever. You just want to kind of want to disengage yourself or dissociate, or the right word rather, from the situation of the people. So it's like
disengage, dissociate. Yeah, good. Thanks. Franda, how about you?
I think for me, when I think about being disengaged or wanting to fight back, the feeling that even that I'm sitting here now just became very heavy. Like this weight all of a sudden is there. It's on my chest, is in my head. It's just a very heavy sort of reaction because I'm actually thinking of a situation. So everything is reacting to that situation. So I'm ready to get out of this little moment. And move out of it. Yeah.
So all of this comes because your brain is saying this is a dangerous situation for some reason. It has its own interpretations of what's dangerous, and it's saying get out of there. So it's providing the energy and the nudge to disengage, go, get out, leave this. It's not good for you. So you get all these messages in the form of these physical feelings. Yeah, everybody with me? I'm now looking at the rest of our participants. I get some nods, and thank you for sharing. We've got cold sweating and high heart rates and feeling of I don't belong here, feeling judged, angry. Really great responses in the chat box. Please do look through them. Feeling off, escapist attitude. Yeah. One of the reasons I want you to experience these things is so that you can become familiar with what your brain is doing. So the next time you feel like this, you have these kind of feelings, you might just say to yourself, oh, this is my brain telling me that something's not right or it's afraid of something. And it can, you can check in, or your clients, and you can just check into it. You can learn something about yourself perhaps, or just there might be some information in there. Your brain might be tracking and saying, this feels familiar to a previous situation. Be careful, because the same thing might happen again. It might be comparing to something completely different and off track, or it might be spot on. It might be absolutely right. So there's information in there for you to investigate the next time you feel this emotional response. Similarly, with those up responses and the positivity, looking into those can be things that'll tell you, oh, values live there, personal values. And I'll show you some other things that live there that are built into us. But it can be a place of learning. So as a coach, when you're working with clients and they're experiencing these different things, they're not good or bad, they're just information from the brain. And they can be quite big and powerful. Okay, so emotional brain drives our behavior. It is a powerful force. Most of us are driven by our emotional brains most of the time, even though we don't want to admit that. I mean, who wants to admit I'm just an emotional bag of chemicals? And yet it is very powerful. And as you start paying attention to how you make your choices, you'll notice, oh, there's these subtle emotions that are having me choose to be with this person, or choose this job or not for that job. And that can be a good thing. If you choose things that feel positive, you'll enjoy them more. So that's a good function, although sometimes it doesn't serve. So it's just great to build your awareness. So, and it makes those choices between the threats and the rewards, the two parts of the brain you've already experienced. The don't do it, fear response, threat response, or the reward network. Okay, let's look at some of the specific things that your limbic system, your emotional brain, is concerned about. And what I'd like you to do is be thinking about these situations that you thought of, both the first one I asked you to tap into where you were engaged and up, or the one that was a little more frustrating, those two. And by the way, if you're still feeling down and frustrated, I recommend that you take a couple of deep breaths and get yourself out of that frustrated fear mode. It's not a good one for learning or really taking in information. So be safe and certain. This is a model that has 6 elements to it. The name Be Safe and Certain really represents the idea that your emotional brain is just trying to keep you safe and keep you certain and keep you alive and keep you surviving, okay? And it's an acronym, so SAFE is the status, autonomy, fairness, expectations, and the B for belonging, C for certainty, or the certain for certainty. So here's how it works. Belonging. Our brain knows through many eons of surviving that it is good to belong to a tribe. And so it's programmed in. And you get these messages. Belong, that's good. Be with your family, that's good. Ah, you're with your family, good. I give you a dose of dopamine to keep you doing this because it'll inspire you to keep doing that. Or on the threat side, be careful, those people are going to reject you. So if you noticed on that frustrating side, there might be someone may have rejected you, or your brain might have interpreted that they might reject you. So as you pay attention to those two things, those two emotional experiences, you may spot these be safe and certain elements in there. So did you notice, was belonging part of your experience, either the good experience that you had or the bad experience that you had or the frustrating experience? We know what it is to belong and to feel like we may be rejected. I think most people recognize that. Next is status. This is a little slightly tricky. It isn't just about having stuff and being part of the right group and having the right labels. It's partly that, but it's also partly knowing that you have a role and a function in the tribe that you belong to. So belonging is important, that's belonging. And once you're in a tribe and you belong, then there's the question of what's my role? How do I participate? How do I contribute? Do people respect me? Do they honor me? Do I provide something to this system? And when you feel like you don't, or your brain interprets that you're not, you get that threat reaction. Oh, they don't respect me. It doesn't feel very good. And so you might notice in that disengaged place, maybe somebody was not respecting you or you felt that they weren't. And when you do get that status, That feels good. You get the reward. Autonomy is next. Autonomy, we love to do things our own way. I mean, who likes a micromanager? Some people like a lot of certainty and they really want to know the details. So a lot of people like autonomy. And we do have preferences. Autonomy is about independence and doing things your own way, having your own opportunity to create your own solutions and like that. I just want to pause here and check with Ritu, Franda, and Mahmoud. If you have any, so far you have any recognitions with either of your recollections and these elements that we've talked about so far, belonging, status, autonomy. Any of you have any?
Yeah, I can clearly recollect something about the status. Whenever you're in family and you have like kids, and the moment kids talk back to you, you feel as if your status is being challenged.
Yes.
Of course, after some time, you just again understand that that's just a reaction, nothing much. Of course, nobody's challenging your position, but in that moment, you do feel as if that you're challenged.
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah. Who are you? And it's a child, right? Who are you challenging my authority, right? But it also happens in workplaces. Who are you to tell me?
Absolutely does.
Yes.
Sorry, my alarm's going.
Okay. Mahmoud, Franda, either of you have an example? Don't have to. I'll go through these next three and then I'll check back with you. And by the way, anybody, if you are starting to notice connections between these elements that I'm talking through and your experiences, please do add them to the chat. Having people see different experiences and connections is really great for everyone's learning. Fairness is the next element. Now, we have this built-in need for fairness. And the problem with it is that there is no objective form of what is fair. So everyone has their own interpretation of what is fair. So an event happens, maybe it involves two people, and both of them could say, that was unfair what you did. And maybe maybe both of them thought they were being fair in their own way, but the other person didn't think so. So there's a fairness reaction, and fairness reactions are some of the biggest reactions. We want to get revenge. You did this to me, I'm going to get back at you. And it might be just a little bit, well, you didn't answer my email on time last time, so I'm just going to put your email at the bottom of my inbox. Something that's a revenge reaction. It's subtle, but it's still a little revenge reaction, and it's pleasing. It creates, when we get revenge, it's pleasing to us because it feels good. Ha! Sorted the world right now, didn't I? And this is where some of our most unfortunate bits of humanity get in our way in workplaces, because there's these little things, and the world. I mean, a lot of what's going on in the world in many places is also about fairness and lack of fairness. But it can happen in smaller ways in workplaces. There are big ways in workplaces. You did this or didn't do this, and we want to get back. And then they build up, tit for tat and back and forth. And then all of a sudden we've got a big thing. So really important to notice your brain's interpretations about what you think is fair. And just know they're only interpretations. They're only your own view, your brain's view on the world. There's nothing true. Sorry, there's nothing true about what is fair. A lot of us can get together and agree, yes, this is fair, or that is fair. But somebody else might say, no, that's not fair. And it's all just interpretation. So it's a really tricky bit. And I think room, when you're coaching and somebody says, it's not fair, you might just, have them notice that it's still a perspective. And they're having this very big reaction. We have these very big reactions to fairness. Do you guys resonate with that? You know what I'm talking about? So I see some nods. Yeah, great. Expectations. Expectations is about hope on one side and dread on the other. We have, when you're planning a holiday or vacation, half the fun is planning it. I don't know if you've heard that expression. I think it's really true. I planned a great Christmas holiday this year and it was canceled because of shutdown here. And I was like, well, at least it was fun planning it. But then the disappointment is what we get when we have expectations and they are dashed. and those hurt. Disappointment lights up pain centers in the brain. So if you have clients who come and they're like, that was unfair, I'm really disappointed, I'm really hurt. They really are hurt, and we shouldn't dismiss it. There's something in there about what's important to them. There's some values that get stepped on. Oh, I'm disappointed, I was expecting this. It's also another reason to set expectations as much and as often as you can, because our brain makes them up. We make up stuff, we say, oh, it's gonna be like this, even if you didn't know you had expectations. Your brain has made up some expectations, and then you're measuring your current experience with what your brain made up. And it's either good or bad, and it's still all made up. So while you're one of those frustrating stories that you had, that might have been because somebody didn't meet your expectations, and you might ask yourself, were those agreed upon expectations? Did I make them up? How much do I make up expectations? Because we do. And certainty is just about knowing what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty in a lot of parts of the world with COVID and, political systems and all kinds of things going in different directions these days. It's unnerving and destabilizing. And all of this creates stress. So that the reaction to the fear response, it creates adrenaline and cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and we get stressed, we feel unstable, and that just takes away from our resilience. Right, so here's a quick summary of these 6 elements. Franda, Ritu, Mohammed, would you like to say anything else about your experiences, how you relate to
Yes.
Mahmoud? Yes, please.
Okay, Eldur. Actually, when you elaborated and have gone through the whole model, I think easily I found the connection between when I was engaged actually and when I was also disengaged. When I was engaged in such an experience, which you have just recently within the exercise, I felt belonging. I felt I have a role. I felt like I am free and independent, and I can take action. I can contribute to the group. Fair. Everyone has a role, so it's fairness. Also, our expectation about the group is okay. And I think the whole model actually felt connected to the whole experience, whether disengaged or engaged. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that beautiful sort of summary of it all. Brenda, how about you?
Yes, when I was thinking about the belonging, I was going back to those hugs and those laughs with my sons. And I think about, because I have 2 sons and they don't believe in small hugs. Like if you do like a little pat hug, they're like, I'm sorry. I want a real hug. I want to feel that. And I thought about that and I thought that's a sense of belonging there. That's a sense of sharing connection and feeling just from these hugs and their laughter. And then when I think about expectations, I think back to when they were teenagers. Need I say more? So we have to learn sometimes that expectations belong to us and they don't necessarily belong to the other person.
Yes, yeah.
So true, Pranga. Like I remember till the time I got awareness around all this and all these elements when I got into coaching, and of course, when you kind of get into that awareness zone, I earlier I used to be like, okay, this is expected, this is there, this has to happen, it's unfair. So yes, I remember living this life, and that kind of created a lot of stress. It used to create a lot of panic, anxiety, and it's only when I understood this entire element, and that's how I got into this zone of that. Okay, there's nothing called fairness, there's nothing called expectation or certainty. It just, you need to take everything in stride and try to do and manage the situation at your best.
Yes, that helps overcome all this drama really that gets created by the emotional brain. And thank you everyone for contributions. I saw a question about is it normal not to have expectations or to control them? I think Fatima, that's your question. Is it normal to not have expectations? Is that the question? Sometimes we train ourselves out of having expectations. people, you might relate to some people or yourself, you've set expectations, they were really high, they were disappointed. Set expectations, they were disappointed. We can train ourselves to not have expectations to avoid the disappointment. We train ourselves, I'm not going to set my sights high because really disappointment is so painful. And a lot of us do that, and it takes some work to go, okay, all right, I'll set that inspiring goal again. But it's scary to do that. So we can train ourselves. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. And yes, expectations, if at all possible, we'll never nail all of the expectations because there's always something brewing in the brain. But if we can, even with teenagers, we can set expectations with them and hope that they'll abide by them. By the way, since we have teenagers in the space, your teenagers they're in a phase of growth where they have more of this limbic system than they have of the part of the brain that controls it. So they really are run by emotions much more than they will be when they're 25 or older. Our brain is finished developing, and it's all the finesse stuff that develops last. So what we're going to experience next is what is developed in the 20s. So the question is, how can we manage our emotions better? We can't just shut them down. The limbic system is really powerful. It is on 24/7. You wake up in the middle of the night, your limbic system is there to entertain you with fears and thoughts and worries. It's good at that. You shouldn't always believe it. There's always some creativity things that also can happen in the middle of the night, but don't make decisions based on fear in the middle of the night because you don't have your best part of your brain awake to work with you. All right, we are going to experience the rational brain, which helps us manage emotions. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more after the experience about why you want to tap into this part of the brain and all the good things that it does for you. But to have this experience, what I'd like you to do first is focus on one of those frustrating experiences. Could be the same thing you thought of earlier in this talk, 20 minutes or so ago, or something else, something that frustrates you, something that you need to act on, perhaps. Maybe somebody sent you an email that, didn't sound very nice or was written in all capital letters, or you have something you need to address that you don't want to, somebody you need to give feedback to and you just don't want to do that, something like that, or a situation that happened that upset you. Okay, I want you to keep that in mind. I'm going to call that your situation. Let's just call it a situation. Now, fully engage yourself in this situation. Let yourself have the emotions. So you are likely to feel heart rate, something in your throat, chest, stomach, hands, something. Allow that to happen for at least a moment. It's not going to be for long. And from this place where you're experiencing these feelings and emotions, I want you to choose, imagine, how would you respond? If you didn't have to be proper or anything else, and you could just respond according to your instinct in this moment, your impulse, tell yourself, you won't have to share this with anyone. What is it that you'd want to do? How do you want to respond? And just keep note of that. We'll come back to it a little bit later. And also, we're going to take this situation, imagine you can put it on a shelf in your mind. And we're going to have a little mindful activity, just some breathing exercises to help you release the chemicals that are currently floating around your body. So put that situation on the shelf, close your eyes. The reason we close our eyes, by the way, is because you spend so much time processing visual information. If you close your eyes, it just gives you a little more chance to focus on yourself and not spend so many brain cycles figuring out the visuals. So our job in the next minute or so is to release some chemicals. So if you close your eyes, sit in a position where you're upright, but not rigid, not tense. So comfortable, upright. Good. And take a big deep breath in. Oxygen is great for metabolizing these chemicals. You want big breaths, and exhale out. Try to exhale out all the air. Our lungs go like from our hips to our shoulders. See if you can push out all that old air, and inhale again. And another exhale. Just keep letting yourself relax. On this next inhale, I'm going to do a small exercise to help you release chemicals from your shoulders. So we're going to take a big deep breath in. You're going to bring your shoulders all the way up to your ears and scrunch them. So inhale, scrunch those shoulders. You might rock your head a little. You're wanting to get rid of all the chemicals that are sitting there, the cortisol. And then you're going to exhale and throw your shoulders down. I always find that really like a big release. Let's do that again. Shoulders up, a big squeeze. And release by letting them go. Just enjoy that more relaxed moment. For just a bit. And keep your breathing a bit deep. At your own pace. But breathe a bit deeper than normal. Another place to pay attention is your jaw. Now, a lot of us clench our teeth when we're stressed. You clench your teeth and maybe talk like this. And that creates stress in this jaw hinge that you have just in front of your ears, behind, at the back of your face. You could even press on that and notice if it's sore. If those areas are sore, that might be an indication you hold stress here. You might clenching your teeth. And there's a great exercise to just move your jaw around, up and down and back and forth, just to free it up a little. Good. And even massaging that hinge place can be really good. And just keep breathing. And just let your arms relax again. Let your body be still. Our purpose is just to experience ourselves, our bodies, without so many of the chemicals running around. And so promise yourself for this next minute that you're going to stay calm, cool, collected. No scrunching your shoulders or tightening or clenching your teeth. You're going to go back to that shelf in your mind and get that situation. No raising shoulders, no letting any of your muscles get tense. Take that situation off the shelf and bring it back into your focus. And now, as you look at it, as you consider it, you might notice from this place, without all those chemicals pushing you, you might notice that you have the capacity to have this position of being stepped back a little bit, seeing the bigger picture, noticing other people involved, what their needs are. You can see more complexity from this place. You can withstand uncertainty when you're tapped into the part of the brain you're tapped into at the moment. And now from this place, how is it that you want to respond to this situation? What is it you would want to do? Maybe you don't want to do anything because you say, oh, I don't need to. Or maybe you respond in some different way. Just take note of how you want to respond. And please remember that, and also that earlier, more emotional response. Bring those with you, come on back, open your eyes, and we'll have a short discussion about that. And if you would be so kind to share, if you're willing to share on the chat box, the differences. You don't have to share your situation, but what was the difference between the first experience and the second? And let's come back to our participants. Ritu, Franda, Mahmood, what do you say? How did you?
Okay, Lori, the first time actually in the situation itself, before we do this relaxation exercise, I wanted to shout actually, shout heavily at those people. Then after this exercise, I will for sure I will reply calmly to them after I think that there is nothing I can do, but at least I will try to be calm. So I think things better, or I think things more calm does not require all this huge reaction which I was planning to. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah, so for me, I could feel that stress in the body when we did this exercise before. I mean, when I thought about such situation in the first situation, the first phase, and after this exercise, when we got to the second phase, and I kind of recall that moment again, it was like just okay, nothing, don't react, no reaction. I mean, precisely, I didn't feel anything. It was like okay, that's it.
Mm.
There's no reaction to it. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's just calmer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thanks. Brenda, how about you?
Yeah, I think this particular situation is one I had let go in January, beginning of January. And thinking back to it now, I've realized this exercise was probably what I was doing at that time. Because even thinking about the situation now, it's like, yeah, okay. You know, what you can't control, you can't control. So you just let it go.
Yeah.
And, you know, so yeah, so even re-looking at it again, I noticed that I think I really have let it go. And that's a good feeling.
Good for you. That's good for you. It takes this mindful state in order to let go of things because our emotional brain doesn't like to. Our emotional brain likes, it's attached, it wants revenge, it really hangs on to things. And so we have to practice getting into this more mindful state, this detached state, if you will, so that we can let go of things. The exercise I took you through was, I call it the ABC of mindfulness. A for awareness, first just noticing what happens in your body. B is breathe, to take a mental step back so you have space to breathe. You might think of it that way. And the purpose is to let go of those chemicals so you can let go of all the revenge thoughts and all those other attachment thoughts and emotional reactions. And C is choose. Now, you don't have to let go of the emotions. You don't have to, but you at least get to choose whether you want to respond in a more rational, calm, cool, collected way, or do you want to have an emotional reaction? Sometimes it might be absolutely appropriate to yell and scream, but it's a choice. If you don't take that moment to take the step back, you're not at choice. Your limbic system just goes. It's much faster than this calm part of the brain. Now, I want to tell you about this calm part of the brain. It's called your prefrontal cortex. It lives right up here. It is the most latest in the evolutionary sense. It's the most evolved part of the brain, and it's what makes us human. And reasoning is part of what makes us human. And here are the different things that your prefrontal cortex can do. It's the part of your brain that sets goals, like pragmatic goals of here's what I want to do and here's what I want to focus on. Maybe you had some New Year's resolutions. I mean, your emotional brain can do that as well. But you know the difference, I'm sure, between those. Anyway, this is like, I'm really going to set goals and stick to them. Your PFC, your prefrontal cortex, focuses your attention. It can problem solve. It can embrace or withstand uncertainty, paradox, complexity, all those things that's hard for us when we're emotional. And it manages those emotions. So it has many jobs to do, but it can only do one thing at a time. And it's not very strong. And it's also slow. Compared to your limbic system is 5 times faster. So if you have something new showing up in your life, you see something that's new and unexpected, your limbic system is 5 times faster, so it's likely to be the thing that responds. Your limbic system also has 5 times more circuitry dedicated to negative reactions than positive. So your most likely reaction to something that's new, that you don't know, you don't have any habits about, your most likely reaction is, no, I don't like it. That's just natural. That's not always going to happen. You may have trained yourself out of that. That is likely how you'll respond. But you can train yourself to take that step back and go, okay, this is a new thing. Let's really take a look at it. What does it look like? That's your PFC being engaged. Now, because it tires easily, your prefrontal cortex is like a battery that you have. You sleep well, eat well, take care of yourself, and you wake up in the morning refreshed. Those refreshed mornings that you have. I know sometimes we don't sleep well, but I'm talking about the refreshed mornings. Like you have a full battery, and during the day you use it up, just like you would on your mobile phone. The battery's like this after you charge it, and it goes down, and that's its job. It is your PFC's job to do all these different things throughout a day. But it wears it out. If you take a rest, a break, you eat, a little bit of caffeine, not too much, a little bit of caffeine is, we'll top it up a little bit and will help you keep focusing and keep doing your work. But there comes a point, if you haven't eaten lunch or you're very tired or it's been a stressful day, that you're out of PFC energy and all you have is your limbic system. That's when you're grouchy, reactive. You know what that's been like when you're really hungry and you're tired and it's like you just don't want to put up with anything. It's because your limbic system's in charge and your PFC is out of energy. It's not a problem. It's just, unless it creates problems for you, but it is a signal that you need to restore your PFC. You can do a bit of mindfulness at that moment. But here are things that help you support your PFC. Sleep, number one, absolutely the best thing you can do to increase, to fill up your battery. Mindfulness is another thing that you can do. ABC of mindfulness or any mindful activities or yoga. People are talking about yoga and things like that, breathing exercises. That actually grows the capacity of your PFC. Gives you more capacity to focus, more capacity to manage your emotions, more capacity to stay calm, cool, collected, even in difficult moments. Exercise, eating well, practicing gratitude and positivity. It trains your brain. This is the chemistry that we want. This is the chemistry of positivity. And multitasking. Here's the unpopular with some people. Some people like to multitask. You have your computer, you have 7 windows open, you do a little of this, a little of that. You got your phone, you've got this device, and all those things. Every time you shift your attention from one screen to another, you are using up, unnecessarily in many cases, you are using up some of your PFC energy, which means it wears out faster. So if you can stop multitasking, it's one of the big things you can do during a work day. Stop multitasking, focus for a period of time on one thing, and then move to the next, and then check your email. That's going to preserve energy throughout a day. Any thoughts from my 3 participants or anybody else? Brenda, Mahmood, Ritu, any don't need to, just want to check in, or anybody else if you want to contribute something.
Well, I can definitely share that, the days I exercise, definitely I feel good, no second thought about it. I feel days in control. That's there.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Good, and we're getting some shares in the chat box. Please do keep those shares going. Anything else?
I think Basant wants to say something. He's raised his hand.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hi, Laurie.
Hi.
You reminded me of when you take a step backwards to any situation. It feels like instead of being a marionette and being controlled over emotions, it's like a compass. It tells you what you need to do.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is what you have done right now. What you have reminded us, maybe I need some sleep if I'm reactive or something, instead of blaming myself. And this is the same thing with the clients.
Yes.
So doing these supportive things would help them to be more, having more mental capacity than being reactive to,
yes.
Especially very emotional clients. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you bring up a really good point. This, for me, understanding how the brain works helps normalize a lot of our reactions. It's your brain trying to give you some information, like you need sleep, or like it thinks something is scary. So thank you for that. In general, I just wanted to, what does this have to do with coaching? Of course, it has to do with you and your life, but it has to do with your clients. And I mentioned several of these before, but I just wanted to go through a few of these items. Having clients understand their internal drivers. So go back to that be safe and certain model. Are they sensitive to belonging? Do they keep reacting because they think they're being rejected or not included? And you can help them work on that and build some, resilience around that. There's also beliefs that live under be safe and certain, but that's a whole other talk. But you can start looking for what are the beliefs you have, because all of it is subjective. That we have beliefs that have us make those be safe and certain elements even bigger than that. You can help them understand why they are reactive. Why they react in certain ways, and normalize it. It's just your brain. You need some sleep. That's what we're just talking about. you can help them manage their emotions and their needs. So we haven't talked a lot about needs, but all those be safe in certain elements become needs. We do need a little bit of all of those. And then when we start needing a lot of those, it can really drive our life. You know, I need belonging. I need to know I'm accepted. I need to know. We'll start making poor choices in order to belong, or in order to have the stuff that we need to feel like we have status. Working on your resilience and your building up your prefrontal cortex will help you focus better, builds resilience and mental capacity. And I have a thought question for all of you. What will you do to manage your emotional brain and increase your mental capacity? Just for yourself. It's a gift you give yourself. So just make a note to yourself. Feel free to put it in the chat box. And I'd like to hear from my three center focus people. Franda, Ritu, Mahmood, what are you going to do?
Thank you, Laurie, for this actually rich presentation. I like the ABC mindfulness model, where we enables us to stop a little bit before we choose. So we have an awareness. Let's stop a little bit, breathe, think about it, relax, then choose calmly what will be your reaction.
Yeah.
And the be safe, be safe
and certain
model. Actually, it was a very rich presentation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for your contribution. You too.
I think the ABC model is definitely a big takeaway for me. Like within those 2 minutes, I could just shift my perspective about the situation. So I think maybe next time, I mean, of course, I do kind of manage myself in different ways, but this is like one big takeaway for me from this entire presentation today. That'll help me achieve mindfulness in those stressful times. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. Brenda, how about you?
Wonderful presentation. It's really interesting. I'm thinking about a conversation I had even with Harris this morning, and this just kind of reaffirms some of the things even that I was sharing with him. I love the be safe and certain. That's just something I'm going to hold on to. And the ABCs, of course, as well. This has been just excellent, and thank you for allowing us to participate as well.
You're welcome. I want to thank you three, Ritu, Franda, and Mahmood. I hope that was okay for everyone, so it wasn't picking on people all over the place, but it was great to have the three of you to come back to throughout this. So thank you for being so vulnerable and open with all of us. I really appreciate that. And everyone, thanks for coming and being great participants and adding a lot to the chat box and sharing with one another. I do hope this was useful to you and that you have a lot of good use out of it. Aaron, should I hand it back to you?
Thank you, Laurie. What a wonderful presentation. I'm sure coaches have learned a lot in these 60 minutes with you. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us today. And the recording of the webinar can be found on our YouTube channel and other social media platforms. The link is in the chat box, or I can paste them again for you. If you've listened to the entire presentation for 60 minutes, you will get one CCE certificate for today. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you, Laurie, once again. It was a wonderful work that you shared, and I'm hoping everybody will be benefiting from this in their practice. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and see you next Tuesday.
Have a great week, everyone. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.